Hello from Skagway, Alaska. We're climbing aboard a Temsco Astar helicopter and we're heading for what has got to be the ultimate cruise ship excursion. Now, when it comes to riding in a helicopter, there really isn't a bad seat. I got lucky and I was behind the pilot, which actually had a bubble window that allowed me to look almost straight down. Now, my wife did get a better seat than me. She got to ride right seat, right up front, so she had this spectacular view looking out the windshield of the helicopter. Now, if you're an aviation nerd like myself, I do have the full raw, uncut, full 40-minute helicopter flight available on my channel. I'll put a link to it at the end of the video. Finish watching this one, hit the like, hit the subscribe. You're going to love the rest of this, and then go watch that 45-minute full-length video with the GPS overlay, with speed, altitude, all that nerd out stuff us aviation geeks love. As you can hear in the background, everybody on board was having a great time. The flight started out questionable due to the weather. We get up near the glacier, that you can see the blue sky, the sun is out, the temperature is beautiful. It's clear that this is going to be an ultimate excursion. As we settle down on the glacier, I'm going to just let the camera run here in a lot of this. The gentleman doing the tour up on top of the glacier, he really had some interesting facts. And I apologize, the camera does get a little crazy once in a while. You have to remember, we're up here walking on the glacier. They've given us these over boots with a 2-inch spike on them to help us dig into the ice. Everybody's got one ski pole trying to help, and you're still wearing this yellow inflatable life vest around your waist, so you're really bulked up and it's a little hard to move. I guess we kind of were in Banff. Jasper.
Columbia.
Yeah, Columbia ice fields.
Awesome. Yeah, so ice field is what makes this ice. And so the ice field that makes the ice we're standing on is the Juneau ice field, and it's about 17 miles up that way between those two mountains. The furthest two we can see, that's where this glacier comes from, at least half of it. And this is the northernmost branch of the Juneau ice field. Mendenhall being one of the southernmost branches. So if you guys were in Juneau yesterday, which I'm assuming you were, you probably saw Mendenhall.
We're in Juneau tomorrow, aren't we?
Awesome. Yeah. You could get started now.
I'll take my cruise ship, thanks.
Yeah. 17 miles up, take a right, 90 miles down. You'll be right on the Mendenhall. And so there's a few people that do it every year, and there's actually a research center right smack dab in the middle of the ice field. But what defines the ice field is the point at which the snow doesn't melt even in the summer. So that's anything past the fern line is ice field. So that ice field just receives tons of snowfall. That basin is massive. It's about the size of Rhode Island, and we still get over 100 feet of snow every winter up there. So not all that snow melts. So as the years go on, all that snow will start compressing under its own weight until it's glacier ice. So 100 feet over 12 years time will compress down into about 1 foot of glacier ice. And so that is a massive amount of pressure. And so it's so much pressure, in fact, that it just pushes all the water molecules so close together that there's no room for anything else, not air or sediment. Anything that is not water will get sifted back up through the top. So what you're left with is an extremely dense, super pure water, which is where you get that blue color from. So what you're essentially seeing is that water is blue, but when you have a super dense, concentrated amount of water, it's that lighter blue. So when you only in like glacier ice do you get water that pure, so that's why glaciers are associated with that color. So in the ice field, once it's made enough ice, that ice will overflow and push out and carve out these valleys. So this glacier carved out this valley and at one point went all the way out into the ocean and would have been considered a tidewater glacier. So if you go to Glacier Bay and or Tracy Arm, those glaciers are tidewater because they're still in the ocean. So since this has receded back in this valley, we're on a valley glacier. And there's signs all over the place that tell us where the ice was, where it's been. And so I'm happy it's not cloudy out anymore because I can make this point. You guys can look over here on this mountain and see that the top of it is very jagged and sharp on top. So we call those sharp points nunataks. It is a native word to Alaska, Chilkat, and it means island. Because if it's still sharp on top, it would have been sticking out during the ice age above the ice and looked like islands. All these mountains you see right here with rounded on top, they would have been underneath the ice. The ice rounded them over and eroded the tops. So you can kind of get a sense of where the height or the ice was at its maximum. Then our next little timeline is you guys can see that there's a line of where the trees grow and how they only start growing about halfway up the mountain. And so that is what we call the 1948 trim line. So we have about a 70-year buffer of how long it takes old growth to catch up to the newly exposed ground. So that's where the glacier was about 70 years ago. And then if you look down into that valley, right at the bottom there's like a gravel line right here, right? Like 150 feet off the valley floor. So that's where the glacier was about 15 years ago. So 15 years ago, we were doing tours out here, and there was a glacier coming out of that valley and connected to this one. But it's not anymore, so it's since receded. So those lines just indicate accelerated rates of recession. So we call them trim lines.
After what seemed to be only a few minutes hiking around the glacier learning about the geology in the area, the helicopters had returned and it was time for the return trip back to Skagway. Now something else we did learn while on the glacier: never walk on snow. All that snow you see laying down there, that snow actually covers up crevasses that can be hundreds and hundreds of feet deep and go right to the bottom of the glacier. Now thankfully the upper level weather had started to recede a little bit. The pilot was able to take us on a much more scenic return trip, climbing up to over 3,000 feet and winding through the narrow mountain valleys of these 4,000 plus foot peaks. As we come in for landing, the pilot makes a hard left turn over top of the Holland America cruise ship that was docked as well, closing out what has to be the most amazing excursion we've ever taken on vacation. If you hung around this long, I greatly appreciate it. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. There's still a bunch more videos coming from Alaska because this adventure is not over yet.